Former spokesperson of the dissolved People's Democratic Party Presidential Campaign Council. Good morning and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Mr. Rufai. How about Daniel Bwala, a lawyer or public affairs analyst or a Nigerian citizen? The attachment as the former spokesperson to Atiku has created a little bit of problem, and that's why I wish to be addressed as I am, a Nigerian citizen, legal practitioner, public affairs analyst.
Well, Daniel Bwala, you don't need to bother. We know you. So I was going to even ask you, since you move store from one side of the market to the other, how market? I see that market is doing well, where your stall is now located in the market. But anyway, we're here to discuss insecurity in Nigeria. Quickly. Now, President TINUBU says nobody will be paid, no terrorists will be paid any ransom. He has made that very clear. Two, we have been told that some international partners are trying to assist us. Minister of Information said so. General Buba of the Defense Headquarters also said so. Who should we take help from? And then number three, there is this narrative that insecurity in the country is something we've been dealing with for more than 10 years. It's a plan to upset the TINUBU administration. Is this about TINUBU administration or the failure of the security system in the country? Those two quick issues, three quick issues.
So thank you for having me. You know, I like the way you segment them. The notion or narrative that this insecurity, the intense insecurity is a ploy to upset or unsettle Tinubu's administration, in my view, is a decoy narrative that is peddled either by some security operatives or politicians in a bid to give President Tinubu an impression that it is a case of us versus them. So that once he accepts of that narrative or that notion, then he will not bother about the effectiveness or ineffectiveness of the law enforcement and security agencies. Usually, that is the tactics. And we've seen the movie before. In President Buhari's time, it is the same thing. You remember when he started the war against corruption? The minute information started coming out about public officers under his employ and appointment are involved in corruption, they immediately build a narrative to him that it is corruption fighting back. And the minute he accepted that notion, everything you say about public affairs under his administration, he didn't take it serious. He didn't commission the law enforcement agencies to be brutal about it because he has been made to believe it is us versus them. And this is the narrative that some people are trying to build for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to cover for their inability to deal with situation that is handed to them. And that's why I like what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said yesterday, which to me, he refused to buy that idea. When he said, I don't have luxury of time. You have to go and deal with this or I take a decision. You see, Dr. Abati, these problems that we're confronted by or that is challenging us is local. And our solution is local. Even the notion that some international partners are opting to help us. I advised the federal government a few days ago on Twitter that we should look at that with a long spoon. We should accept that with a long spoon. These foreign nationals, this foreign government oftentimes use that as a ploy to negotiate their interests. They never mean and they will never solve our problem because our problems are local. And to juxtapose my point, when a missionary was abducted, an American citizen, you see the swiftness with which the American forces came and rescued the person. If they really wanted to help us, from when Boko Haram started till today, we would have been able to deal decisively with Boko Haram. Have our army and soldiers not been arresting foreign nationals amidst Boko Haram fighters? So let us treat this kind of offer, this Greek gift, with caution. But why did I say our problem is local? Our problem is local because this emerging issue of kidnapping is a crisis economy. And these guys you see in the bush abducting people are mere mercenaries. The real perpetrators are in towns, they are in white collar, some of them in government agencies, some of them in the banking, some of them in financial and other business interests. This is where, in application of the Terrorism Prevention Act, we need to look deeply into what it provides. The Office of the National Security Advisor, that is the coordinating body, the Office of the Attorney General, that is the administrator of the act itself in terms of bringing regulation for facilitation of fighting corruption, then the law enforcement where the problem lies, which deals with intelligence, security, prevention, and detection. So when we discuss in detail, I will prove it to you that our problem is local, and the law enforcement and security chiefs, they are right now in the eye of the storm.
Well, about no ransom will be paid. Do you support the president's position?
I agree with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I agree with him because, one, he must have been briefed based on intelligence that the individuals behind this ransom thing are white-collar people. And so continuing to discuss and giving of ransom is feeding off of this crisis economy, thereby financing them, and in turn they will procure more arms and build that economy to be much more stronger than our oil and gas industry. And they know, these bandits, that once you abduct pupils, primary or secondary, immediately it takes an international dimension because it falls under the Convention of the United Nations, and the responsibility squarely falls on the federal government. But if you abduct families, business people, and the rest, they are deemed under international convention as local acts of crime. Once you take kids, that is why they had the effrontery and audacity to call for 1 billion. Few days ago, they even asked for 40 trillion, 150 motorcycles, and some cars, as if they want this to go and set up a new country. For them to say that, and look at, for example, Dr. Abati, they said they are giving 15 days. If ransom is not paid, they will kill the children. 15 days is enough time for all of them to be decimated. 15 days is enough. So this is where the question of intelligence comes. All of this investment in the procurement of devices for tracking and tracing, for surveillance and interception, where is it? Where are they? Are they functional? When somebody steals a phone in Nigeria, this law enforcement will geotrack the person and catch him. When a terrorist is involved in a crime, it becomes an issue. So everybody comes to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and form one narrative so that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will approve money. But we have not asked the ones that were provided before, what have you done with it?
We've actually asked that, Mr. Boala. We've asked about allocations and what has been done with that. We've consistently asked that question here. And from what you say, it almost sounds as if there must be some complicity and some people benefiting internally, hence why we've not been able to apprehend or contain this menace. Because you talk about it, and rightly so, I've seen the police work, or ordinary, in investigating just the theft of a telephone. Like you mentioned, using intelligence, and in 24 hours your phone is back, depending on who you are in society. And so you wonder why it's proving so difficult. So that then fuels the argument that there is some form of sabotage, there is some form of complicity. There are some people within who are deliberately ensuring that this menace continues. And if that is the case, then you wonder, why is the state not responding to this? Why is it hard for them to respond to this? Why is it difficult? These white-collar people you talked about, the bankers, why is it so difficult to trace? In some instances, these ransoms, the ones that were paid by even private citizens, were paid into bank accounts. Why is it difficult to trace that? We all went through the hassle of registering for our NIN in order to be able to track. Why is that not being used? So you wonder who is sabotaging the state, who is sabotaging this administration in that event, and why is it that we haven't been able to solve it? Is the state sabotaging itself?
This is a thriving economy. This is a thriving economy in Nigeria. That's why all manner of people are involved. We have seen a secretary of a church in Jos involved in kidnapping. We have seen family members involved in, kidnapping of their own loved ones. We have seen a husband ask that he be kidnapped so that the wife will pay ransom. It's a thriving economy. And this economy is promoted, financed, and supported allegedly by financial institutions. If you look at the Terrorism Prevention Act, you will see the role. In fact, if you see the definition of what constitutes terrorism in terms of terrorism financing, then any bank that is involved in deposit, transfer, or facilitation or payment of any kind to a terrorist has committed a terrorism act. And this is in compliance with the United Nations Charter. Let us even ask the question, what happened to that, they call the Sanction Committee, that is pursuant to the international, the UN Convention. The Sanction Committee, because if you look at that Terrorism Prevention Act, you will see the committee members. They are the ones that designate individuals and financial institutions as terrorism institution. Ayo, few years ago under Buhari, in Zamfara, where the current Minister of State for Defense was a governor. What characterizes his administration? Payment of ransom, payment of ransom. In fact, there was a time when revelation came out that the payment of ransom involved a member of SSS, a Nigerian soldier, a police, a local traditional chief. So these guys who are doing banditry, have you ever seen them flashing cars, changing clothes, or living a lifestyle that will suggest that these monies they have been collecting from people they are actually using? They are mere mercenaries. And that is why I emphasize the point. This requires political will to put an end to it, because the economy is thriving and expanding to a point where you cannot even vouch for members of your own estate. Because the minute you change car, somebody somewhere may be giving information about your life. Now, yesterday, very sadly, Governor Wike had media chat. And in my view, he was leaking out a lot of intelligence that ought not to have been leaked. You know, talking about they don't have money, they don't have facilities, devices for tracking and the rest. Do you know how much the government of President Buhari invested in the procurement of infrastructure for the purposes of geo-tracking, surveillance, and all of that? So what are we to be asking? Where are these equipment? Are the equipment like pure water where you drink and go to the toilet? Are they not hard devices? That's number one. Number two, everybody who speaks to the ears of president now is always calling money, money, money. So one, you have the crisis economy, those who commit the crime in order to make money. Then on the other hand, you have the bureaucracy that want to get more money so they can stop the crime. And in between the bureaucracy and the perpetrators of the crime are the Nigerian people. That's why Donald Trump, during his tenure, he so much distrusted the CIA that he commercialized and privatized intelligence collection and sharing. He started paying private firms to give intelligence to the American government, because when you give private sector tasks, you get efficiency and result. Bureaucracies are like this sea that never ends. Okay. This is my humble recommendation to Mr. President. So I will come to you. Just 1 second, sir, before you come in, Mr. Rufai. I just wanted to say something. It's about time that the government of Nigeria begin to use PMCs, private military contractors, not foreign PMCs. All these our retired generals, retired army, and the rest, let them be encouraged to form their own PMCs and let government privatize intelligence and security fight. We will bring this to an end within a short time.
So you're calling for private military contractors. Mr. Boyle, I mean, I get your point. I think we are dealing with, and you are a man of faith, we're dealing with a eutrophilic council, as it were. I mean, there a lot of counsel that is not right because they are benefiting from it to the president. But I want us now, at this matter at hand, to hazard possible scenarios. What happens in 15 days? Do you think we're going to be able to track in 15 days if nothing happens? We're getting some news here and there as regards the situation with those people. That's number one. Number two, you talked about the fact that hitherto we have this equipment, but you know, because everybody is immersed in this war economy, I think that's the word you were looking for. It's not even crisis, a war economy we have. And it goes across even more than the government agencies. You have a lot of other factors in a war economy. The question is, how do we now then stop this war economy that has started in Nigeria already? That's number one. Number two, how do we seize this eutrophilic council Number 3 will be, how do we get these people out and get them home in 15 days' time?
Thank you. If the president wants these guys back in 15 days, Mr. President can call all the security chiefs and say, in 15 days, if I don't see these children back, I am relieving you all and I'm getting a new set of security chiefs. I guarantee you in 15 days, the kids are going to be back. You see, because every day there is a meeting, you'll be hearing them of lack of cooperation. The National Security Advisor is working tirelessly every day, calling meetings, talking. That's why people are now getting fed up to say we get fed up with these meetings. Because at the end of the day, when operation is executed and you hear of lapses, you will then hear there is interagency rivalry. Intelligence is provided but late, or intelligence is provided early, but these institutions that is going to carry out the operation so undermine the intelligence that before they will act on it. A few days ago, I heard a former CIA agent that said the Congress assessment of 9/11 said all the security platforms of America failed because all the intelligence necessary to stop 9/11 came. Intelligence came, but they refused to process it. Intelligence came, they refused to act on it. And when something like that is happening, the only way to stop it is for the commander-in-chief to hold people accountable. Few days ago, one of the escapees of one of the persons that escaped from this abduction or kidnapping said that when they were moving through the bush, at some point, these bandits saw the Nigerian chopper, this surveillance chopper, and they hide somewhere. After 15 minutes, the chopper has gone. They keep moving. That means the range of the law enforcement in Nigeria can reach where these guys are going. 2, geo-tracking. We all know the states in Nigeria where you have large expanse of land where this possible carnage is going on. What happened to our law enforcement security? And then the third one is, we put so much pressure on the Nigerian army to deal with internal security matters. So they are overwhelmed and fatigued. How can you ask a carpenter to sew a suit for you? These guys are trained to fight conventional war. When you bring them into the internal mechanism of security checks, that means you are going to expect collateral damage. And the minute an innocent person is killed, then international community come and say, there is a violation of fundamental right. We are not going to give you this weapon. We are not going to give you this weapon. This falls squarely on police, NSCDC, SSS, immigration, custom. Custom are supposed to stop the infiltration of arms to the country. Immigration are supposed to check these borders where these human beings are coming. And then police, there is no part of security in Nigeria where police department, you don't have a police department in that regard. All security in Nigeria came out of police. The soldier came from police. SSS came from police. NCDC came from police. And the most ineffective and ineffectual security in Nigeria is the police. Wow. And where you cannot, that's why I said the president has to be decisive, because from Buhari to this president, I have not heard where a demand is made for money and these presidents refuse to release it. So when you release money, there must be accountability. If there is no accountability, if there is a kidnap, for either the DPO or the commissioner of police or IG of police, somebody has to pay for it.
So do you think there's complicity in the system? Yes or no?
Very strongly. Very strongly. And I have a strong reason to believe that strategic people, even in security, are behind some of this banditry.
Okay, Daniel Boala, we have to wrap up now. We don't have up to even a minute. But let's go back to where we started from. We introduced you as a former spokesperson of the PDP campaign. But you had a comment on that. Is it that with the benefit of hindsight now, you regret your association with the PDP and would not want to be labeled as a former spokesperson, which actually is a statement of fact? Is it that you regret associating with the PDP and you just want to be on your own now?
No, I have no regret that I went to PDP. I have no regret that I supported Atiku. At every given time, I do what I do based on my conviction. And when at the end of the day, I execute what I'm supposed to execute and it doesn't work out, I accept realities of fact. The reality I have accepted now is that this politicking is gone. And because of the crisis in Nigeria, the only way we can even have a 2027 election is when Nigeria is safe and secure. And I saw this president, whom I have supported while I was in APC. I saw the good intention he has in ensuring that he right the wrong, that the past administration has committed. And when he said he wants all other people from all opposition to come together for a nation building, I felt it is the right time for me to look at nation building rather than politicking. Because after all is said and done, there must be a Nigeria before we can then do politics.
Well, on that note, thank you very much, Daniel Bwala, for joining